Patrice Washington from patricewashington.com. And the fact that you're listening to an audio called The Truth About Wealth tells me something really important about you. While most of society has been conditioned to see wealth strictly in financial terms, like money, property, or material possessions, you're different. You know that money is important, but you don't let it run your life. Now, I'm not saying those things don't have their place, but real wealth, it's much more than that. And you are a part of a special community of people now who have always known that intuitively. But perhaps you haven't quite figured out how to express and master what it means to actually be wealthy in more practical terms. So in this brief but powerful audio training, I'm going to share with you what I believe are some fundamental truths about wealth that you must know if you want to live a life of purpose, if you want to experience that inner peace that comes with fulfillment, and if you desire the financial abundance to live a life that allows you to choose. Now, choose what, you might be thinking? Choose what you want to do, for how long you want to do it, with people you want to do it with. Now that is wealth, my friend. And if this resonates with you, I want to give you a heads up now that you can get more of this practical and heart-centered wisdom at patricewashington.com, as well as by joining me on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter using the handle SeekWisdomPCW. I'd love to hear what you think about the training. Now, if you've been in my circle for a while, then welcome back. This training is going to definitely give you more insight and a deeper understanding of what might be the next step or even the missing piece of your prosperity puzzle. But first, if you're new to my work, welcome. You might want to know what makes me an authority about the topic. So let me take a few minutes to properly introduce myself. Again, my name is Patrice Washington, and I've been known for nearly a decade as America's money maven. I travel the world as a #1 best-selling author, television commentator, transformational speaker, spokesperson, radio host, and I've even been dubbed by many a leading authority on personal finance, entrepreneurship, and success for women. I'm really proud to say I've been featured in literally dozens of newspapers and magazines nationally and abroad, from the New York Post to a monumental 4-page spread in Essence magazine. I've had hundreds of online articles from Business Insider to Forbes, and I've been a regular contributor to the Steve Harvey Morning radio show and talk show, Dr. Oz, Fox and Friends, Bloomberg, and so much more. Throughout the years, I've been really transparent that I didn't become the money maven because of a few textbooks. I am the money maven because of my testimony. I started a boutique real estate and mortgage brokerage at 21 years old while I was a senior in college. And because I was helping people, oftentimes people twice my age make the biggest purchase of their life. I became very passionate about also educating them on personal finance. I would travel all over Metro Los Angeles, teaching people practical ways to budget, pay down debt, increase their credit score, and save in order to prepare for home ownership. And I was great at it. Speaking was the gateway to meeting potential real estate clients, partners, and allies. And because of it, my company grew to nearly a 7-figure business within just a few years. Kind of impressive, right? For a little Belizean American girl from South Central Los Angeles. But the irony of it all is that's still not how I became the money maven. Even though I was budgeting and paying down debt and had the 750 credit score and was saving thousands of dollars when the real estate market crashed in 2008, I was not recession-proof. In less than a year, my husband and I were in danger of losing not just our home, but our multiple investment properties. Our matching Range Rovers had been voluntarily repossessed, and I had a whopping $300,000 plus medical bill after being on hospital bed rest for 10 weeks waiting to have my baby girl. Eventually, I had to lay my entire staff off, 16 admins, real estate agents, loan officers, and my family and I fled cross-country. And notice, I did use the word fled because it was not as easy as just moving. We ended up living on my brother's couch in Atlanta, Georgia for months. During the first few months of this transition, I have to admit, I was devastated. I was ashamed. I was embarrassed, humiliated. I just couldn't understand where I went wrong. I thought I had done everything right. I tried my best to live a life of service, And I prided myself for always operating my business with integrity. And one night, I was just so frustrated. I got to the point where I just felt like I couldn't take it anymore. And I was bawling and crying and asking God, why me? Like, what did I do to deserve this? And I found this scripture. And actually, I can kind of say now, this scripture found me. Proverbs 17:16. It read, what good is money in the hands of a fool if they hath no desire to seek wisdom? And boom, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I mean, I have been a fool. I spent my entire life chasing money, but never truly seeking wisdom. And in that moment, I told God, if you restore me, I will teach any and everyone willing to listen that they don't have to be a fool like I was. For so long, I thought that seeking education, getting the certificate or the degree, or even a license meant that I was wise. After all, I had knowledge, right? But that night, I started to dig deeper. Why did the Bible even use the word wisdom as opposed to something else? I started trying to break down the words knowledge and wisdom, and I learned something. Knowledge is information. Many people have lots of information, but still no wealth or success. You may have a lot of knowledge. You may read every book, enroll in every course. You might listen to every audio you can, but that doesn't necessarily get you the results you desire. Because see, knowledge is information, but wisdom is knowing when, where, what, and how to apply the information you have. And seeking wisdom is what I have been lacking. So at the heart, my goal since 2009 has been to inspire people to first seek wisdom and then use that wisdom to shift their mindsets around money. That's why my books, my social media content, my speeches have always been a little different than most experts in my space. I've taught on money management principles like budgeting, credit improvement, and debt elimination, but I've also unapologetically shared that knowing those things are not enough. It's quite possible to know all of that and still never live a life of purpose or abundance or one that simply fulfills you. But how do you shift? That's the million-dollar question, right? Well, for years, I would either open or close my speeches with the mantra that I've learned to live by. And that mantra that literally millions of people have heard me say at one point or another. Building wealth has 100% nothing to do with money and 100% everything to do with you and your mindset towards money. What I've realized, though, is that the idea of shifting your mindset is so abstract for most people. You know, it's like, what does that even mean? How in the heck do you do that, right? And it dawned on me, I've encouraged people to shift their mindsets. I've even taught them where those mindsets may have been formed in childhood. But I've never taken them through the daily rituals and practices that I use today to define, build, and rebuild wealth in my own life beyond dollars and cents. Because I truly believe when you solely focus on money, you're missing it. It's not just about coupon cutting and budgets or credit reports. If that were the case, wouldn't you already be wealthy? I mean, let's think about this. If it were all about collecting enough circulars on Sunday morning to cut coupons and budgeting to a T and knowing that the names of the 3 credit bureaus are Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, then why do you still not have the wealth you desire? Because again, you know intuitively that we just live in a society that encourages you to chase money as if simply having more money will solve all of your problems. Or merely having a financially astute skill set will solve the mystery. But the truth is, it doesn't. It never has, and it never will. The truth is, the journey is also about understanding your God-given gifts. And it's about possessing an abundance outlook. It's about gratitude, and it's about being grounded. It's about energy, blocking what doesn't serve you and embracing what inspires you. It's about focusing less on what you merely want to have and more about who you want to become in the process. The reality is there's just other work that has to be done. And I've found that as I focus on the other areas of my life, the money I desired began to desire me. I attracted it in the form of relationships and opportunities that would serve me and pushed me into the life I live today. A life that's based solely on living out my purpose, finding fulfillment, and earning more without ever having to chase money. So, what is the truth about wealth? Well, first, let's define what wealth is once and for all. What most people don't know is that the word wealth comes from the Old English words will, which means well-being, and the TH sound, which means condition. When you take all that together, it means the condition of well-being. It's also related to the older word well, W-E-L, meaning in a state of good fortune, welfare, or happiness. So when you actually take the time to get to the root, we find that wealth is again so much more than money. It's about first simply focusing on the things that make life worthwhile, and knowing that by doing so, you can create the atmosphere to attract more money. To be clear, let me emphasize, money is the result then of your mindset and having a wealthy mindset. But more importantly, that you can live a wealthy life defined by whatever that looks like for you. Because here's what I know. You cannot compare your life to others who appear to have it all. You have no idea how bankrupt they might be in every other area of their life. You have no idea how unwell they may be in the core areas where well-being should be of the utmost concern and care. Which brings me to the core areas I touched on earlier. Let's talk about what they are and why they should matter to you. Each of the 6 pillars are about making peace in your life. They're about pursuing purpose and attracting prosperity. And in my book, Chasing Well-Being in these areas are what it truly takes to lead a wealthy life. The first pillar is fit. There is wealth in becoming your best self. Now, I know you might hear the word fit and immediately assume I'm talking about working out or going to the gym daily, and that's a part of it, but certainly not all of it. See, I learned long ago that being slender does not equal being healthy. I am so clear on that. But really, what good is money if you don't have the health to enjoy it? Are you striving to make more money for freedom or for funding copays and a pile of medications you can't even pronounce? Some of us are ignoring our bodies in the name of hustle and grind. We go and go and go, and we don't listen to the signs that say you need food, you need rest. Girlfriend, you need some vitamins. Stop. I believe that God may have given you a vision, yes, but it's your responsibility to protect the vessel needed to execute the vision. We can't pray for our territory to be enlarged when we can barely catch our breath or walk around the 12 by 12 we're in now. Now, there's 2 types of fit. In addition to being physically fit, you must be mentally fit. Many people I encounter throughout my work can't bring forth the ideas that will lead them to prosperity, not because they don't have the education, not because they don't have the knowledge. That's easy. What many suffer from is a mind that is so clouded by chaos from the past, from financial failures, heartbreak, maybe extreme health challenges, unaccomplished goals. So many people pray for lives that they just don't have the capacity to sustain because in their minds, they're still living in an old story, not based on who they are or whose image they were created in, but based on something in their past that they've allowed to define their entire existence. That's a part of why I am a strong advocate for counseling or therapy or something. I believe that dealing with past wounds is directly connected to your wealth. If you want to be wealthy in your fitness, I need you to know that counseling is okay. And sometimes some of us just need to be given the permission to embrace that, especially if you've grown up like me in a culture that denounces it. Hear me when I say this, please. A part of being fit is understanding that your success just might be on the other side of you sitting on someone's couch and dealing with the trauma of your childhood. Next is people. There is wealth in creating relationships that matter. Let me ask you a question. What good is money if you have no one to share your life with? If your kids don't respect you, or if the people that you love can't stand to be around you, or if the people that you say you love don't even know you actually love them based on your actions, based on your availability, based on your interest in what's going on with them. Some of us are so busy claiming that we're working hard for our families that our families hardly see us. And trust me, I'm not judging, because I was guilty of this once, thinking I was present because I worked from home. If my family needed me, I was nearby, right? Surely they would just come down to my home office in the basement if they really wanted something. It took a few hard conversations and some come to Jesus talks, if you will, to recognize and accept that they wanted me to be present, not just present. Because one is about proximity, but the other is actually about availability and attentiveness. What you nurture grows. And I learned that I had to nurture the relationships in my life in order to grow as a wife, as a mother, as a woman, and even as a business owner and brand. Because once that was intact, I could be free to pursue becoming America's money maven without guilt or without doubt. And being able to pursue your gifts without inhibition is a money magnet within itself. Now, the third pillar is space. It's about setting up a life that supports you. A part of wealth is about being able to control and maximize your time, which is really your most valuable asset. I believe when your space, the environment around you, is not set up to support you, you waste a lot of precious time. And of course, time is money, right? Listen to this stat. According to Newsweek, the average American wastes 55 minutes a day, roughly 12 days a year, looking for things they own but can't find. The average office employee spends 1.5 hours a day, that's 6 weeks per year, looking for things, according to OrganizedWorld.com. Now, ladies, think about the last time you misplaced your keys. You swore you moved everything out of the way in your purse 19 times and you still cannot find it. But on the 20th look, when you finally dump everything out of your bag, it was there all along. In my opinion, the average person loses their keys, cell phones, or whatever, not because they just simply misplace it, but because it usually is hidden by some form of clutter. And the truth is, clutter is the physical manifestation of confusion in the mind. Ooh, I know that's hard to accept. But personally, even for myself as a writer and a content creator, I can't think or create when my head is not clear. And usually when I experience writer's block for longer than an hour or so, it prompts me to take a look around me. I look for where the energy and creativity is stuck. What clutter is blocking my flow? And honestly, it's usually because of a messy desk or that my inbox is overflowing with documents that need to be scanned and shredded. I stop trying to force myself to write and I clean up or I get out of that space. Whenever your environment is out of whack, energy gets stuck. There is no flow. And what is money? Currency. It needs to be able to flow. So setting up your space to support you means everything from removing clutter and organizing drawers, closets, cubbies, clearing that car out. I know that's a big one. Or doing whatever you need to do to bring order to your life to create a luxurious feel on any budget. And then once you get that in order, from what I've observed, you tend to value your space even more, which means you don't allow just any old body to just come into your space. And I've learned that in order to be great, to operate at optimal capacity, to perform on the levels that I've prayed for, it has taken me protecting the integrity and peace of my space. I believe that must take precedence. The next pillar is faith. Wealth can be found in believing in something greater. Now, I don't know about you, but I've been through my fair share of trials in life. A few obviously much more significant and traumatic than others, but definitely my fair share. As America's Money Maven, I've shared my story of my business failing in the recession and having to literally scrape up change to find the money for milk to feed my daughter. That story I've told in print, I've told on radio, television for nearly a decade. But a few years ago, I started to realize that story wasn't enough because I was in Atlanta receiving the Claire Huxtable Award. And they did an icebreaker of sorts that started with the words, "You wouldn't know by looking at me, but." And your job was to fill in the blank and essentially be vulnerable, in a sense, with a complete stranger. And when I got up to accept the award for being a mother, wife, and professional woman who was balancing it all with style and grace, I began by sharing, "You wouldn't know by looking at me, that for nearly the first 25 years of my life, I could not stand to see pictures of myself, much less look in a mirror. I spent most of my childhood feeling that I was ugly, inadequate, and unworthy of love, which is exactly why I became an overachiever. I figured if I wasn't beautiful, at least I should focus on being the smart one. You wouldn't know by looking at me now that exactly 1 year before my daughter, who you all know as Mini Money Maven, was born, I gave birth to a 1 pound, 6 ounce baby boy who lived for less than 5 hours and literally took his last breath in my arms, holding my right index finger in his tiny hands. You wouldn't know by looking at me or by looking at pictures of my husband and I and my daughter and social media that the 7-year itch was not an urban legend, but a real experience that threatened to destroy our marriage and the legacy we believe we were destined to fulfill together. And yet through it all, I know that the only reason I've been able to push through and persevere is because of my faith. The only reason that I'm here today is because of my faith. Believing that there is something greater has always allowed me to maintain the mindset that there is a greater purpose at work, and nothing is ever happening to me, but oftentimes for me, even when I cannot understand for the life of me why. It's taught me that life is only 20% what happens to me and 80% how I choose to respond. My faith has shown me that nothing has meaning except for the meaning that I choose to assign to it. Because what I verbalize, I both magnetize and magnify in my own life. So if I make a choice to whine and complain, then I make a choice to attract more of the same to my life. But when I make a choice to fight for my gratitude, that attitude and perspective that I nurture grows and wants to bring me more of the same. Faith is about maintaining a sense of hope and peace when really you should have none. Faith is about calming all of the distractions and being still. It's about getting in alignment with the higher power that created you. And instead of asking for everyone else's opinion, allowing that still small voice that already has all the answers to guide you. And my faith is one of the number one factors in why I don't chase money. Because I understand the difference between a resource and the source. And because of who you are, who you're being, and how you show up, you can attract the lucrative opportunities and divine connections that will carry you effortlessly into your destiny and effortlessly into your prosperity. So your faith is connected to your wealth. The next pillar is work. I believe a key to wealth is living out your life's purpose. Anyone who has followed my work as America's Money Maven at some point over the last decade will tell you that my books and my speeches have always gone well beyond budgeting and coupon cutting. If you look at my best-selling book, Real Money Answers for Every Woman, you'll notice that before I ever talk about a budget or savings account or debt elimination, the first half of the book was about shifting your mindset and then giving yourself permission to earn more using your God-given gifts. I've always felt like saving $50 was cool, but if I can make $500 with the same amount of effort or in the same time frame, it would be better to find fulfillment using my gifts. I believe wholeheartedly that lack of fulfillment is the number one reason people mismanage money. When you're not excited and fired up to spend time doing work you love and can be passionate about, you look for ways to fill the void. Knowing your purpose and walking in it daily helps you establish your priorities. You no longer feel the need to window shop or surf the internet aimlessly because you're fulfilled. You are enough. Stuff and things do not define you. When you're working in your purpose, you bring a different spirit and enthusiasm and energy to your work. You want to operate in excellence, which will naturally attract more because opportunities to earn more, be more, and have more come when we are being our best, much more so than someone who's just working to get by. And I'm not saying that it happens overnight, but the process and journey are so much more rewarding. In my own life, I can tell you that so many of the most miraculous and profitable opportunities I've received did not come from me asking anyone or trying to force something to happen. More often than not, I've received opportunities from nurturing relationships, like we talked about in people, trusting my faith to guide me, and protecting my space, as I've shared. There is wealth in knowing what you were uniquely called to do and then pursuing it gracefully, yet relentlessly. And the last area is money. As you know by now, I'm not a fan of chasing money, but I am a raving fan of attracting the prosperity you desire. My sweet spot for over the last decade has been showing good people just like you how to make, manage, and multiply their money masterfully through my sites, books, talks, and social media. There's so much I can share about money, and you'll definitely continue to learn more at patricewashington.com. But if there's one shift I can make for you now, it's this. What you respect will become what you perfect. I'll say it again. What you respect will become what you perfect. And you might be asking yourself, Patrice, what does that mean? Well, as you know, I've been all over the globe teaching people about money. And I always get asked, what's the greatest lesson I can know about money? Or what do I need to do to get back on track financially? And many people are surprised by my answer. And you might be surprised by my answer. But truthfully, I think we've been conditioned to jump into our relationship with money without ever being trained on how to properly acknowledge, honor, and respect. Think about it. What you have with money is a relationship. And as we discussed in the people section, what you nurture grows. Any relationship rooted in acknowledgement, appreciation, trust, honor, and respect is bound to be healthier, much healthier than one where there is minimum communication, a lack of interest, and almost a downright disdain. I mean, really, if you only consulted your spouse or significant other about important happenings in your life in the 11th hour, or made important decisions without their input at all, what would that relationship look like? What about if you checked in on your parents or your children, not daily, not weekly, not even quarterly, but every now and again? How broken would that relationship be? Ever have a friend that only checked in with you when they needed something? Yeah, how did that feel? Now you might be asking yourself this, Patrice, what the heck does respecting money even look like? Well, you ask great questions. Respecting money could look like blocking time on your calendar weekly or monthly even to check in with your money and really get a handle on what's coming in and what's going out. Respecting money for you might be not just walking over pennies or change in the street, because I believe that's telling the universe that money isn't even important to you. Remember, denomination doesn't matter. Respect is respect. Respecting money can be as simple as actually opening your mail as opposed to shoving it in those junk drawers or shoe boxes or wherever your mail goes to collect dust. Here's the deal. More money will be the natural byproduct of you cultivating a genuine, mutually respectful relationship. One that doesn't use and abuse or ignore, but one that shows gratitude and concern every step of the way, no matter how large or small. Now, I know this has been a lot, and guess what? You are welcome to listen to this audio training over and over again. As a matter of fact, I want you to listen to it over and over again because these truths about wealth are the foundation for a new existence for you. What type of existence? One of peace, one of purpose, and one of prosperity. An existence that allows you to live your life's purpose, find fulfillment, and earn more without ever chasing money. That is my sincere hope, my desire, and even my prayer for you. But we know that acknowledgement of an opportunity for growth without action is useless, right? So because I did promise you a training, not just a lecture, as your instructor, you're not going to make it out of here without homework. So if you can, pull out a blank piece of paper right now, a notebook, a journal, or even the notes section on your cell phone so you can track some very basic numbers with me. Before we go, I'm going to remind you of the 6 core pillars we've talked about, and I want you to tell some truths of your own. As I say each one, I want you to rate yourself. Honestly, rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 5 on how well you're doing in each of those areas. 1 being poor, meaning you know that you need to make drastic and radical change or you will not see the life you desire. 3 being indifferent, meaning you're stuck in the land of average. You're not doing bad, but you know you were created for greater. And 5 being prosperous, meaning you are fully aware and intentional, and this area is helping you get closer to the wealth you desire. I'll pause for a second or two so you have a moment to think about each one. Pillar 1, fit. Remember, that was about becoming your best self, both mentally and physically. Pillar 2, people. That was about creating relationships that matter. Pillar 3, space. Set your life up to support you. Pillar 4 was faith. It was about believing in something greater. Pillar 5, work. Are you living your life's purpose? And last but not least, Pillar 6, money. Are you doing the work to attract the prosperity you desire? Now take a moment to tally everything up. How did you do? There's a possible 30 points at stake here, so we'll do some basic math. If you scored 21 to 23 points, that's the C average, my friend. You're in the 70s, and you get to decide what you're committed to do to go from decent and average to being the force you were created to be. It's time for you to stop hiding out in the background, stop being vanilla, and you have to stop being okay with just going with the flow. If you scored 24 to 26 points, that's a B average. You're in the 80s, and with a few small shifts, you are likely ready to go from good to great. You get to choose what small tweaks you're committed to making for you to live a life beyond your comfort zone. If you scored 27 to 29 points, then that's definitely an A average. Being in the 90th percentile is a blessing, and if you were honest, you should be seeing the fruits of your intentionality. If you're not, do this little inventory again and be sure that you're telling the truth. Because if you are, I want to remind you then that you have a responsibility to teach others how to live the way you are living. And if you scored a perfect 30, congratulations. I honor you, and I'm definitely looking forward to learning more from you and everyone else as we build this community to help us all redefine wealth and create success on our own terms. Now, I did not forget about you if you scored 20 or below. And I don't want you to think that this exercise was designed to shame or embarrass you, because it definitely wasn't. I designed this exercise to help you recognize why, despite the education and knowledge and beauty and talent and even the gift of gab you might have, you still haven't tapped into the wealth that you desire. It's scary to take inventory of your life. I know that. It's scary to admit that you could be doing better in your health or your relationships or how you set up your environment. But wouldn't not knowing and dying without this truth be scarier? Because my hope is now that you know better, you can and you will do better. And that's exactly why PatriceWashington.com was born. Not necessarily for the 1% who may do this and score 100%, but for the rest of us, because I'm with you, who are works in progress. The rest of us who need inspiration, who need motivation, and who need practical information to keep pushing ourselves daily to that 5 rating in every category. So if you receive this training from a friend, do 3 quick things for me. Thank them, then head over to PatriceWashington.com and sign up for yourself so we can begin seeking wisdom together. And then forward this training to someone else you know who could benefit. I'm so honored to have shared this time with you. I'd love to hear how the training has impacted you. So join me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you're comfortable at the handle Seek Wisdom PCW, and share with me. I'm dying to celebrate with you. Remember, you know the truth about wealth now, but the question is, what are you going to do with it?